All right, East Texas death row inmate Robert Roberson will not testify before state lawmakers today. This comes after Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton filed a motion to keep him from appearing in Austin. It was filed last night, and it asks Polk County District Court to issue a protective order. This move allowed the Polunsky unit holding Roberson to ignore subpoenas ordering his in-person testimony. This comes after a Texas House committee used the court orders to delay his execution back in October. Roberson was sentenced to death in 2003, convicted of killing his 2-year-old daughter. Prosecutors say he shook her violently, leading to her death. His execution was set to be the first in American history over a conviction tied to shaken baby syndrome. But Roberson has gained bipartisan support from lawmakers and medical experts who say he was convicted on faulty evidence and outdated science. The hearing will still happen today without Roberson's attendance, and it starts at noon.